Greetings everyone, welcome again to the second day of KISIP 2024, Konferensi Ilmu Sosial dan Ilmu Politik, Safeguarding Democracy, Multifaceted Response to Election Disinformation. May I ask how everyone's doing this morning? Everyone's good? Okay, still excited for the second day? Yeah, this is gonna be the last day of this event, so gear your spirits up and take your phones out, post this in Instagram, and don't forget to mention at CSIS Indonesia and at Safer ENET Lab. All right, let me introduce myself once again. My name is Johanna Parida. I am Development Studies graduate from London School of Economics and Political Science, and it is my privilege to be the Master of Ceremony of the day. I would like to welcome all the invited guests and also all of the media partners that come to this event. And before we begin, I would like to explain once more why this event is very important and why the Saver Internet Lab has become more significant than ever. So ladies and gentlemen, in less than a month, Indonesia will undergo a pivotal political transition with the simultaneous 2024 elections. This event will underscore our nation's commitment to upholding democracy. As the internet and social media usage grows, there is a concerning rise in election-related misinformation, especially since over 65% of the voters is predominantly Generation Z and millennials, which I'm sure is also mostly all of us in this room today. And our generation relies heavily on social media as our primary information source. And this is why, ladies and gentlemen, to address this multifaceted challenge of misinformation, the Department of Politics and Social Science from CSIS, or Center for Strategic and International Studies, in partnership with Google Indonesia, has initiated Saver Internet Lab, or SAIL. SAIL aims to combat information disorder closer to the source proactively. SAIL primarily engage in research and mapping efforts to pinpoint misinformation origins and spread. Now, KISIP 2024 is themed Safeguarding Democracy, Multifaceted Response to Election Disinformation, just like the theme to our first session yesterday. And KISIP 2024 aims to foster a collaborative space where academics and social political observers can converge and deliberate, strategize against the looming challenges of election-related misinformation. And hopefully through this collective multi-stakeholder engagement, SAIL seeks to understand and address the complexities, needs, and challenges intrinsic to election disinformation. Now, without further ado, we're gonna have two sessions today, which gonna continue our discussion yesterday. And the first session of the day is titled The Role of Media, Journalism, and Information Literacy in the Disinformation Era. Now, guiding our first panel of the day is Ibu Derry Wijaya. Ibu Derry conducts research in natural language processing, or NLP, with a focus on machine learning, deep learning, and large language models. Ibu Derry has conducted research on analyzing bias and information within artificial intelligence, or AI models, and in public communication. Ibu Derry also has a postdoctoral degree from University of Pennsylvania and a PhD from Carnegie Mellon University. Now, before I invite Ibu Derry to the stage, I would like to once again remind the audience that there will be a Q&A session at the end of the discussion, if the time allows. So please raise your hand, and when the moderator calls upon you, please state your name, your affiliation, and keep your question short and straightforward. All right, who's ready for the first session of the day? Okay, I would like to invite Ibu Derry to the stage. Please welcome, the stage is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It is my pleasure to welcome the panelists in this panel. The first panelist is Merlyna Lim. She is a Canada Research Chair in Digital Media and Global Network Society and a Professor of Communication and Media at Carleton University at Ottawa, Canada. Her research and publication revolve around the mutual shaping of technology and society and the implications of technology, particularly digital media, information technology, data, algorithms, and AI. Bu Merlyna Lim, please come to the stage. Our second panelist is Ibu Ika Karlina Idris. She's an associate professor in public policy and management at Monash University, Indonesia. And she's also a co-director of the Monash Indonesia Data and Democracy Research Hub. And currently, she's focusing on creating a dashboard for monitoring hate speech and polarization in online media. Bu Ika, please come to the stage. The next panelist is Gibraltar Muhammad. He's a research fellow at the Indonesian Institute of Advanced International Studies. He graduated from the International Relations at University of Indonesia. He's now a research fellow at INADIS, the Indonesian Institute of Advanced International Studies, and his interest strongly revolves around identity politics, governance, foreign policy, and development. Pak Gibraltar. And last but not least, Mickhael Rajagukguk is our fourth panelist here. He's an independent researcher based in Jakarta. Previously, he worked as a monitoring, evaluation, and learning coordinator for the Build Our Kids Success project in Wahana Visi, Indonesia, with Jakarta as well as East Nusa Tenggara as the area programs. Besides monitoring and evaluating the program in the project, he also researched disparity in the facilities and resources between these two areas, specifically in terms of nutritionist and sports education context. Pak Mickhael, can you come to the stage? Thank you. So at this panel, we'll talk about the important topic, which is the role of media, journalism, and information literacy in the disinformation era. So for the first, to open this session, Bu Merlyna has a presentation that you want to share.
Okay, thank you, Bu Derry. Actually, it's kind of like something blocking me, so I might as well. I cannot really read that. Anyway, I'll be standing, and good morning, selamat pagi, wilujeng enjing, buat paguyuban Pasundan. I'm happy to be here, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for CSIS, Google, and thank you all. So, how do we engage with election in 2024? Do we have a dedicated schedule? Do we have a dedicated space and time, right? No, right? We, all of us, probably with the exception of some, engage politics in general and election by scrolling through our screen, probably sometime before work, sometimes you go to the bathroom, sometimes when you are like being antisocial while you are with your friend and yet you are looking, right? So we actually don't have dedicated time and space to consume politics. as politic interspace with food video, cute cat, drooling babies, right? BTS reels, disinformation comes insidiously, gently, persuasively, and effectively. So this is the dynamic that I would like to talk about. As you can imagine, hashtag is about the politics of algorithms, how algorithm and social media and hashtag actually influence politics and election in general. And handshake here is the politics of handshake. I use that term to kind of refer to a type of politics that is, of course, in this case of Indonesia, right, entrenched in certain kind of coalition, opportunistic networking, and it eventually fall into what I call binary politics. And here is, we have triangle affair, but I don't know who is it's not which one who love more. It's just like quite actually complicated affair between social media, marketing culture, and electoral politics. So here is the ad spending on Meta platform that I captured in the last 3 months. As you could see here, actually, it's quite astounding amount of money being spent by candidates, Prabowo Subianto, Edwin Aksa. You see mostly Erwin Aksa is from Golkar, even though it is using different names. You have Bakti Untuk Rakyat, also Prabowo, and you have other candidates. If you see the amount spent, it's quite a lot of money spent on that, right? So it kind of shows how important is social media is for the election. And this is actually, we never see something like this before. The amount is astounding, and I'm talking about all parties, no longer focus on buying whatever spanduk, gede-gedean, yeah. Though still, we still see banners, right? But I think there is more money actually going to here. It is going to show that social media advertising and social media in general has played very crucial roles in Indonesian political campaign. And so my paper trying to explore the intricate relationship. And I argue that we cannot simplify this, okay, there is social media and election, and there is causality. I think that's actually a flawed kind of thinking. So what I'm not necessarily will give you an answer on how they are causally linked, but I'm kind of trying to give you kind of framework of thinking on how to rethink how things are intercorrelated. So this is what I'm talking about, the convergence, the kind of different logic that interweave, and to a certain degree also explain why we see it is easier to see disinformation than information. There is a handful here, so just a brief piece of a historical overview. So social media, so digital media actually started being used in 1997. All of 3 parties have website, and then 99, all parties, right? So many parties have website, and then you have continuous, but it's not until 2012 that actually social media started to be used during Jakarta gubernatorial election, and that's become the blueprint for subsequent election. And 2014, of course, we all know the social media played a pivotal roles. And here we see candidates started using to building image, branding positively, right? And attacking negatively. And this trend continue, of course. It's heightened in 2017 Jakarta election continue 2019. Looking ahead to today, next month, of course, kind of follow the established trajectory, focusing on personalization, emotional appeal, incorporating possibly, I think very soon, going to be some political slinging. And actually, if you see here, it's actually the intensification started in 2012, exactly coincide with the fact that mobile subscription actually suddenly went over 100%. Actually, there are more mobile phones than people. Well, if even babies probably have mobile phone, right? Look at that, what, 127 out of per 100 in today, right, in 2023. And 60% of, or 165 million actually they are social media users. That's a lot of social media. That's a lot of scrolling every day, really. So basically, this information, so we know that previous elections show the trend of this polarization in terms of like deepening, right, division between supporter of certain candidate vis-a-vis the other. We also see disinformation, misinformation, black campaigns, yeah. So many scholars think, really look at social media and the formation of filter bubbles as the cause. As if that we are all clustered ideologically into ideological echo chamber, and you never really everybody have this helmet and then just looking at certain. But that's not actually what happened. My research show that that's not really true. So, and social media impact on disinformation is correlated rather than causally linked. And today, I think I will try to explain that correlation is influenced by biases in 3 factors. The first one is what I call algorithmic marketing culture. The second one is algorithmic enclave, and the third is algorithmic politics. Remember that. That's going to be an exam at the end. Dengan door prize sepeda, roda 1. Okay, so the first one is algorithmic culture, right? You know, there is a new song coming out. This is only for Indonesian audience. I think by Afghan. Do you know there's like a new song about algorithm? You don't know? You're not cool. So the song is like that. Mungkin hanya algoritma yang tahu segalanya, apa yang kau pikirkan di Pilpres bulan depan. Okay, so it feels like algorithm knows what you think, right? But so it's actually, of course, algorithm believe in algorithmic culture, and social media actually become increasingly algorithmicized, mostly because, of course, to gather the increasing number of users. You cut me. Oh, okay. Just because I sing, you shouldn't cut off. Anyway, so, but also because social media really trying so hard to be more effective, but not for you, not for me either. Trying to be more effective for brands, or to make it more efficient to do targeted advertising. So algorithms keep on changing and keep on like being revised to maximize the target, right? The perfect, they want to try to target perfect buyer, basically. And this kind of algorithm, as they become maximized in their performability for brands, the same algorithm being used for that ads, political ads that you saw that spending on ads. Kind of weird microphone, by the way. So while some argue that algorithm prioritize crowd wisdom, right? Which one is the hottest, which one is the most famous? I don't think it's actually anything to do with crowd wisdom. So basically, I propose the algorithmic marketing culture as the kind of culture that algorithmic driven create on social media as a interdependent interplay between algorithmic operation and marketing principle, which authoritatively shape the circulation, visibility, and popularity of content among social media users. And within this, there is economic of attention, right? Shrinking attention, then economic of emotion actually at play at the same time. Because algorithm needs, algorithms actually, so typologically is shaped by machine learning, which is learning from past behavior to predict your future behavior, but also is sorting typology, where content are sorted into priorities, right? So the extreme matters. Everything in the middle, they don't. And effect is currency, because the brand actually is not sell based on rationality or logic. Brand is sold to you, so you're gonna buy. And you will not buy just because, because it has 225 fiber that will enrich your cell system. No, that, it will make you pretty, make you happy, right? It appeal to your emotion effect. So that's how algorithm work. And that's how it works for every type of contents. So branding through psychological kind of approach that taps into your emotion, that's become actually the default. The virality is not necessarily about quality. It's never about quality of information. I don't know why it goes by itself, but basically, I didn't do anything, so don't do anything. Okay. So here it is, and when it is interpolated into politics, extreme effect become as a currency. Like I said, right, there is a priority ranking, there is a typology. So virality is definitely is about the game of extreme effects. You will not like some almost cute thing doesn't work, right? Almost funny doesn't work. But the most controversial one, the superlative one, right? So within this landscape, with the paradox of abundant volume, shrinking byte, and wide distributions, it also means that during the campaign, content on policy, socio-political agenda, everything that is boring, lacks virality, right? But the persona, which is appeal to your emotion, and evokes instant emotion, are more likely to be disseminated. We heard yesterday from Pak Stefanus Wijaya, right? It's a shrinking time in actually going to the next action when it comes to disinformation, because it appeals to your emotion. Then this information typically is not information. Information tap to your logic and knowledge. This information typically tap into your emotion. That's why actually this landscape is fertile for that. So, and also there is no choice for kind of like it, but I'm not sure about it. There is this, there is this, there is love. There is a very limited expression, which is kind of like work into polarizing the public, because there is no choice for you who is a kind of half-hearted, right? Probably all of you here, because you are all too critical, you don't come on social media because you are not so extreme. But that's not the end of it. So this is actually in the new slide, I titled this Algorithmic Enclave. But it doesn't mean that algorithm and social media have all absolute agency in actually determining how we consume politics or we engage with politics. Because what happened is, okay, there is algorithm, but there is us, user, keep on interacting, right? So what unravel within this is actually the result of interaction between us and the algorithm on daily basis and with each other, right? Whether we are kepo, I don't know what the English for that, kepo, like nosy, right? Wanted to know what our friend thinks, or some kind of like peer pressure or FOMO, fear of missing out, all those behavior, right? Which is pretty much actually kind of marketing culture, because it's like, oh, someone wearing something, therefore I will, a friend of my friend thinks that if I wear that kind of shoes, then I would become, so this is the kind of logic actually operates on politics as well. And what happened is there is a formation of algorithmic enclave as you keep continually being shaped or collectively, individually by algorithm and collectively by the interaction, the circulation of effect between user within that landscape. And we eventually, this is from 2014, right? Up to now, we are drifting into what I call algorithmic enclave, which is the recursive arena where individuals shaped by constant interaction with algorithm engage with each other, then unite based on perceived shared identity online, usually not because we know what we are, but we know whom we don't like. So it is a very different kind of shaping, because it's very hard to know what is the consensus, right? There is no deliberation per se. So people actually typically are clustered politically because who is the enemy. But also I think there is the number 3. So there's algorithmic, algorithmic marketing culture, algorithmic enclave, which is Vienna. But also there is something else that is operational, which is coming from both political of hashtag and political of handshake. It's the fact that politics itself, political communication has moved from propaganda type to marketing type. This is the kind of like old political campaigner do, right? Consultant. Actually now become like that. No longer, this is still going on, right? But we shift into branding, personalization, intimate relationship, and politics, political communication has become political marketing, which in a way actually fits algorithmic marketing culture and focusing on data segmentation and targeting. And here we have witnessed what I call algorithmic politics, namely politics that revolve around algorithmic manipulation of issue, primarily aimed at dominating media sphere and influence public opinion. This includes political practices that exploit existing algorithm biases to manipulate public. Also, the manipulation of algorithm to influence citizen choices in politics. And there are three practices that are important within algorithmic politics. The first is there's increasing professionalization and financial backing. And actually, I was surprised when I look at that data. That some parties that were poor in 2019, now among the highest spender on ads, for example. I don't know where, first, I have no idea where the money come from, but second, it's only, what I only know is they pull all resources, including their candidates, all to social media heavy, right? The second is there is duality of campaign. One is social media become the place where formal policy presentation, positive, video, TikTok video and stuff. And there is a covered targeted strategy, kind of underground, and it is mostly dark. Black campaigns, misinformation and disinformation. Actually, all campaigns are doing that. And the third is, actually, this is my colleague, Yatun and Wijayanto doing this one, research on paid campaign networks to manipulating public discourse through buzzer, right? Troll bots and all kind of stuff. So, and all of this is actually leverage algorithmic bias toward extreme affect and binary politics. And binary politics within Indonesian, not only in Indonesia, actually Southeast Asia, right? Because the region has so many elections, but not quite increase the quality of democratic choices at all, right? It's always like eventually, no matter how many parties are in, eventually citizens are given very limited choice. So actually, this is like my last slide. So what we see is that it's within this triangle. It's very important, I think, to really understand they are all hand in hand in influencing the quality of election, the quality of public discourse, and the quality of political discourse in general, and actually shaping the future trajectory of democracy, right? And we need to understand this. The relationship between, I have this recap, between marketing culture and social media. I think the algorithm marketing culture is actually captured that with all the extreme effect, branding, targeted ads, unequal treatment of content, how content with extreme effect actually gain more likeliness to be popular. And on this side is there is binary discourse prevail, right, which is related to polarized public and effective clustering. And you have that. And no wonder we have this information, because this information actually perfectly fit a kind of operational logic here, right, rather than information. So it's kind of gloomy, isn't it? There is like no way out. However, I feel that I need to end my presentation with some kind of thoughts, right, on where to go from here. So there is no easy way out, and there is no short-term solution to this, because I think what we see, there are like multi-player involved in this. We have, on the one hand, is platforms, right? We cannot blame, Indonesian are not critical, they don't have critical thinking, they don't have media literacy. No, it's not only that, right? So yes, of course, media literacy, digital literacy is important. Critical thinking is important, and that it itself is a very big task to do. It's a big homework to do. But beyond that, I think tech companies, we should hold tech companies accountable. Collaboration between policymakers that's always behind and not quite really understand much about technology, should really have to go deep down and actually collaborate with pores on tech companies. We need ethical guidelines, right? We need transparency of algorithm, auditing of algorithm, especially probably prior to the election. We need a shift within politics of handshake between binary politics. And of course, I go back to the effort to promote digital literacy, right? So all of these are a list, and I could add more, but I think these are enough for us as a homework that are crucial for fostering a healthier electoral politics and politics in general, and a more informed and resilient digital communication sphere. Thank you. Terima kasih. Hatur nuhun. These are some reading. If you are interested, they are all free from download. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bu Merlyna, for the wonderful talk. I guess we can all agree that there is no easy fix to misinformation. In fact, like I think last year in July, there was a study that has shown that changing the algorithm itself has very little impact on political polarization. So it's really like a complex mixture between algorithm and then policy making, as well as to ourselves as well, like critical thinking and information literacy. So on to the next panelist, Bu Ika. And for the other panelists, can we keep to the time, which is like 10 minutes, so we can have some questions at the end? Yeah.
That's that. All right. Yeah, it's 15. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. So this is unusual conference panel, yeah. Usually we have table and it's kind of boring, but we have a very lively audience this morning, so please allow me to stand here. The title of my presentation is about the dark side of media innovation, and it's a case study in one of the media organization, but I believe we need to pay attention on this case study because it keeps growing and growing and growing. I actually found this case by accident when I conducted narrative on the democracy narrative in Indonesia in 2021. So that time, I analyzed conversation Islam versus Pancasila, which was very polarizing. And then I found one news media published a lot of articles, and I made a phone call to my friend in that organization. Hey, I cannot see the agenda of your media. Sometimes if you read Tempo, if you read Kompas, and then you can understand what their agenda, what they want to say. But this time, I cannot see the agenda because there's no agenda. The main agenda is to get money from the articles. Next, please. Okay, so even before COVID, the news organization has been struggling with the revenue. Yeah. Getting worse and worse during COVID. But it makes them realize the generated renewed understanding and practice about the programmatic advertisement. And then all the clicks, all the audience-driven the journalism practices. In Indonesia, credible news organization can monetize fake news easily without verifying the information. Next. So I'm going to talk about this. I believe if you grew up in West Java, I went to Unpad for my undergrad, so I'm really familiar with this. It used to be one of the largest publisher in Indonesia and the largest in West Java. In its golden days, Pikiran Rakyat printed around 75,000 newspapers. But in 2021, it decreased only around 20,000 newspapers. It has been struggling until in 2019, they established a new division of Pikiran Rakyat, and it's called Pikiran Rakyat Media Networks. This network established by Agus Sulistriono, who worked before in the Kompas Gramedia publisher, and now he is establishing his own pro-media network that he claims has around 11,000 independent online media with 24,000 content creators. So if today we talk about social media buzzers, we talk about propagandists from outside the country, we really need to pay attention to these content creators. So what is content creator incubators? Yeah. What about this business model? Content creator incubators, they claim that we incubate small online media and then we support their web, server, maintenance, production process, marketing, and help them with the programmatic advertisement. They said that we are doing gotong royong, model economy gotong royong, or the co-sharing economic model. We want the small websites also get profit from it. So we call this a revenue-generated mechanism. So, but what actually they've been doing? Yeah. Next slide. Okay. So the incubator business model is characterized by its revenue generation mechanism, which revolves around hosting many small websites, and then they give target to each website. Each website, if you have 3 people, and then you can join the networks, and then they will give you a name that sounds legit, and then can confuse readers. So if we go to them and then said, oh, I want to establish tanahabang.pikiranrakyat.com. And then we have already become part of the networks. And then they will give you a target to produce or to publish 100 articles each day. So if you are new and then you have only 3 people, you have to meet the target so you will get the revenue from the programmatic advertisement. Most of the acquisition, so we talked to 3 content creator incubators and we talked to 2 journalists, and then one of them in Sulawesi said, we were really struggling during the COVID in November 2021. The local news, no one read it. We cannot make profit from the local news. So we joined the network. But you know what? There's no money involved. It's only gentleman agreement. They don't get anything. They just become part of the network and then the part of the incubators. And then they get target. If they get target and then can achieve your target, then you will get money. Money from where? Money from the advertisement. Because they are following Google business model that will reward websites if you produce articles. If you get more clicks, then you'll get money. After that, they also sell illusion to Gen Z that you can get jutaan penghasilan. can get millions of income by joining the incubators. And then they sell this story. There's one content creators get 160 million in 1 month. And then 400 articles. If you divide it into 20 working days, she wrote 20 articles per day. How come? I bet if you are in a university student, you are struggling in writing 2 articles per day. But she wrote 20 articles per day. Why? Because they are allowed to recycle articles from other websites within the network. They can see what has been published. They can recycle until 50%, and then they can republish it. In one training, they even told that your competitor is not other media. Your competitor is not Kompas, it's not Tempo, but other member of the networks. Why? Because Kompas, Tempo, they verified their news. They verified their articles. And verifying needs time, needs money, and needs resources. They are allowed to not verify anything. They are allowed to use sources from social media, to use tweets in the articles. And if you think about social media buzzer, they both can benefit from each other. Social media influencer just put something on Twitter, and then later on, content creators will catch and then write it, and then recycle another content, and then publish it. Why? They can only get money if they wrote article. One of the informant in this that I got interviewed said, we got no BPJS Kesehatan. We don't get basic salary. So he used to manage local website for local news, and he said this is modern slavery. I know that time writing local news don't give us money, we don't profit, we are struggling, but I paid for my workers BPJS Kesehatan. This network, if you get sick, don't get money. You cannot get sick. One of the content creators that I interviewed said, I have to prepare evergreen contents. Contents about, prayers, contents about weathers, and I have even prepared contents about a student assignment. If it's Ujian national season, they will write about it. If there's a football game in Jakarta, even though they were located far away from Jakarta, and then the title of the website, for instance, like Cirebon, whatever, small cities, they will write about national news. So there's no more local content. There's no more even, what do you want to deliver? There's no agenda in here. Next. So let me go back again to the Islam versus Pancasila conversation. It's very interesting because during the analysis, we collected data from Facebook page, Facebook group, and Instagram, but then the page that posts the most is Pikiran Rakyat Media Network. But when I look into the articles, I cannot really see. You can see Puan in here, Bangga. You can see here PKS. Used to be if you go to one news article and then you can easily spot, this is what they want to tell us. This is who they support. This is the policy that they want to bring. But they basically just put every tweet in the articles. So I had to make a phone call that time to the journalist in Pikiran Rakyat. And then she said, please, I don't want to be associated with that. They're not journalists. No, we have even people went to our office, straight, protest to the Pikiran Rakyat newsroom, even though it is, the article was written by the content creators. Because the name is very tricky, cirebonpikiranrakyat.com or whatever, small cities, audience cannot really tell if that's news or just article published by content creators. So what I'm trying to say when I look at this, they are propagating unverified information. Yeah? Because they have target. If you have target to write 15 articles and the only income you will get is by the articles you wrote, you have to write on everything, right? One of the content creators even said, I believe you were all following the accident of Ridwan Kamil's son. It was like 10 days or 7 days, and it's like a long, watching soap opera, yeah? Because of the drama, they're still looking at it. And then you know what? Those days, one of the content creators told me, I made money the most in one of those days. But I stopped because I know I'm exploiting someone's sadness. Because the articles that like, makin gak jelas. We wrote about Ridwan Kamil's brothers, we wrote about Ridwan Kamil's sisters, we wrote about every family members that not really related to the accident. So she stopped, and then she said, stop, because she just said like, I don't think it's ethical to write about someone's sadness and then get money from it. So based on my interview, there's a shifting of journalism practices into algorithm-driven journalism. And I didn't get interview with the Pikiran Rakyat management, but I believe they are trying to differentiating between the journalism product and the content creators product. But now they have more content creators, and I think the unethical practices from this model need to be reviewed. Yeah. Last.
Ika, can you wrap up?
Okay. So last, I know that the industry, media industry, grapple with the struggling with the revenue, but I think it's time for us to introspection and regulate, or maybe renew commitment for these content creators or this business model that rely heavily on advertisement. Thank you, Mbak.
Thank you, Micah. So I guess now it seems like based on the first two talks, it's all about the money. It's the marketing, right? And I think the next talk will also be focusing on media as well as social media, and how disinformation is selected to increase popularity. Pak Gibraltar, thank you.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. It's an honor to be here alongside this amazing panelists, because I believe I'm the youngest one here, because I've just graduated last year from International Relations, Universitas Indonesia. And thank you. Today I'm going to share about my paper. Disclaimer, this paper is also co-authored by Raffi Alif Muhammad Akbar from Laboratorium Indonesia 2045 and Derry Noval Mulyaman from Universitas Kristen Indonesia, that will discuss about the significance of disinformation to Indonesia's democracy. Okay, so before I get started to the substance, I'm going to share my outline. So first, I will begin with disinformation, which has become a political tool in today's society, and how does it relate it to um, Indonesia's democracy and Indonesia's political situation in general, and how is the prospect for 2024, as we know that we already are entering the political year, where we will be held, where we will choose the one of the three candidates on the general election day. So I'm going to start with the background. Since my background is a political science student, international relations, so I'm going to um, visualize, I'm going to explain about how the disinformation uh, affects the political situation, and on this context, uh, how does it affect Indonesia's democracy? And I'm going to start with the points from Kurki on his paper on 2010, how oftentimes we neglect the contestability of democracy. What he means by contestability is sometimes we see democracy as, you know, as an ideal form of the government, as an perfect form of government, which lead to you know, the romanticized of liberal democratic order. But in context of Indonesia, for example, to what extent our democracy works? I mean, of course, we believe that we can say our country is democratic country, but to what extent we really give the platform for, you know, freedom of expression, equal participation for the minorities, etc., etc. And the second point, which I think is the most important point, is the context of digital age, which bring this information, is not something that, of course, is inevitable when people started to use social media, when people started to express their opinion in social media, both on mass and social media, of course. But in terms of electoral politics, this information has proven to be effective, has proven to be potential to be influencing public opinion, because, of course, in electoral politics, what does it take is, you know, massive support and massive voices from the majority, and therefore this information has been used as a public opinion generator. So this is something that actually we have learned from panelists from yesterday, of course. And why does it call disinformation? When misinformation is something that can be perceived as you know, inevitable consequences, where there is sort of false information circulated in public space, but this information is something that is deliberately done, something that is done to you know, in terms of political electoral politics, because what I've already said, we need massive support from the majority of the people. This information has been used as a tool to raise skepticism towards the mainstream institution and accepted orthodoxies. And we can also see the use of disinformation both by state and non-state actor. For example, what we've already seen from US cases, Donald Trump, Boris Johnson from Brexit. So I can say that both elites and people somehow are affected by this disinformation, not only affected by all, but also using it for their advantage. So this is what I've already said earlier. Perhaps we are already familiar with the term of fake news, for example, hoax in Indonesia, and therefore understanding this tactics is essential to addressing the impact of disinformation, especially in terms of Indonesia's democracy. So these three momentums, I can say, these are three pivotal momentums of Indonesia's politics because when we try to somehow correlate it with the use of disinformation, I think these three cases really resembles the use of disinformation and how does the disinformation were really useful for political advantage. And when we somehow to some extent, I think we just take it for granted. I mean, the use of disinformation as inevitable consequences of freedom of expression, etc. But what we are trying to emphasize here is, turns out the minority groups is the most vulnerable, the most attacked entity in our political situations today by this use of disinformation. And I think I don't have to elaborate more on these three momentums because the limited of time. I think I just going to the next pages. And this is the nexus of disinformation and Indonesia's political situation. I mean, when New Order, I think we can agree that we didn't have that sort of freedom of expression, mass media freedom, but when the bloom of democracy and mass media took place in 2000s, we could finally see, the use of mass media at the time as not only as, the source of political information, but also as the source of political campaign, and it even getting more significant in 2010s, where the rise of social media. Of course, we are already familiar with, for example, the use of hashtag I stand on the right side, coblos kumisnya, dan lain-lain, and etc. And I think what I'm trying to emphasize here is we can already see that the use of social media can also be positive in terms of using it in a political way. But when there is, the new context, and also there is this new challenges of the post-truth era, the identity politics situation that, somehow made this information really dangerous. What I mean by dangerous is especially for the minority groups. This is what I'm trying to emphasize here. This is the research from Hudson et al. In 2020, where nationality and religion becomes the two most important aspects for the people finally judge the candidates. And this is something that really we have to look at carefully, because there is this, the revival of identity-based politics. And what I'm trying to explain here in a more concrete way is, this is the research from Albert Ghani, where he researched about the most tweeted hate speeches on Twitter post-general election in 2019. And what we have seen here, there is a lot of disinformation, misinformation. The bigger the word appears, the bigger the number it was appeared on Twitter. And yeah, we can see that all of these things, most of them are false information, right? communist. And when I earlier was explaining about the identity-based politics, we can also see that, a lot of identity sentiment appears here. And this is something that is very dangerous for our democracy. And of course, we already also are familiar with the term of buzzer. And what we are trying to emphasize here, buzzer or online armies, propaganda wars, is something that is very, very common both in a national scale and also in a regional level, like what Ghazali observed, that almost of the regional election have employed some sort of team of degrading opponents, shadow teams, that finally brings me to my main argument that this information has been used and has been harnessed in a very, very strategic way for political advantage. And this is where I'm trying to put it in a more concrete way. So democracy that, of course, bring lots of benefit, but the same very thing also become the platform of, the information exchange, and finally the disinformation that appears to be an inevitable consequences. And when we put democracy as the main topic here, what I'm going to emphasize here is this information really, really affecting the minority in a bad way, and this is something that we need to carefully look at. So how is the prospect for 2024? I think that we already familiar with TikTok for almost like 5 or 10 years since it raised as the most important social media right now. And what is my point here? My point is when the past experiences show the text-based hoax, text-based disinformation, what TikTok could offer is not only a text but also a video. And when I try to put it in a more contemporary way, the use of AI, for example, could worsen the situation, because the hoax, the disinformation, could appear as real as it can be, because when someone put a cut of some videos and made it as if they are a new videos, when there is this fake face, and that sort of artificial intelligence stuff make this information even more sophisticated. And the young voters, as most of the panelists has already pointed out, that we are the majority of the voters, but sometimes the expectation that comes from society that we should be more moderated, we should be more critical, it can be something that turn into the opposite. For example, what Nurianti Jali has already pointed out yesterday, what happened in Malaysia, the use of TikTok as ethno-religious disinformation platform. And this sort of things, I think, also can be very, very related to what Indonesia's already facing, especially when it comes to political year like 2024. So here is my conclusion. Of course, we can agree that the ongoing democracy has brought a lot of significant changes. What I'm going to emphasize here, the public opinion space that has, become the very essential aspect for our democracy, which that is something that we didn't have before back then on the older regime era. But the very situation is also something that is need to be managed, I think, in the context of the use of disinformation, because what I'm trying to emphasize and what will be my main argument is because the disinformation is not affecting us in an equal way, but I think it is more badly affects the minorities. That is something that we need to look at. And the recommendations, of course, what I've already learned also from the discussion on these 2 days is digital literacy education, and the support of any efforts of hoax busting, the research, for example, and discussion like this. But also what I'm going to propose here is the very active engagement of the related stakeholders, the KPU, Bawaslu, Kominfo, to maintain this, the use of this information, because what we have already experienced, at the very least on those 3 pivotal momentums that I've already explained, is not something good, right? It's not something that we want to do that again on 2024, and that is something that really, really need a lot of consideration. So I think that is all from me. Critics and questions are welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Pak Gibraltar. I guess like disinformation has relationship to hate speech, and that's why it's important for us to think of ways we can mitigate the impact of disinformation. And the last panelist will talk more about like the role of media itself in this election. Yeah. Can you help with the slides?
Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. For the first time, I want to apologize that I will be presenting in Indonesia because there are limitation of me to speaking in English and to short. Am I allowed, Mrs. Derry?
Yeah, I guess it's okay.
Okay, today I want to present my presentations about entitled Examining the Independence of News Products from Media Owners with Political Backgrounds. This is the overview of the internet society in Indonesia. Jadi secara garis besar, pada konteks politik, ternyata media itu kecenderungan dari media itu banyak menampilkan berita-berita terkait politik. Jadi berdasarkan data yang kita peroleh, ternyata dari 20 juta berita yang tersebar selama tahun 2022, ternyata politik itu menempatkan berada pada posisi pertama sebagai tema atau topik yang paling banyak dipublikasikan di Indonesia, dan itu mencapai angka 970.000 lebih. Dan permasalahannya adalah ternyata kalau kita merefleksikan kepada tahun 2019 ketika pemilu itu diadakan, ternyata 1.731 hoax yang tersebar selama 2019 berdasarkan temuan dari Kominfo, ada 620 hoax, dan 620 hoax ini merupakan hoax paling banyak ditemukan pada tahun 2019, dan ternyata itu adalah hoax politik. Jadi kalau kita merefleksikannya dari tahun 2019 dan temuan 2022 kepada tahun 2024 ketika kita melaksanakan pemilu, itu akan ada kecenderungan di mana media akan banyak mempublikasikan terkait politik, tapi juga di satu sisi akan ada banyak penyebaran hoax terkait politik itu sendiri. Dan permasalahan yang terbesar adalah ketika kita bisa lihat bahwasanya dari temuan riset kolaboratif antara CSIS Indonesia dan juga Google Indonesia, menemukan bahwasanya 42,3% masyarakat Indonesia itu masih mempercayai yang namanya misinformasi dan masih bisa terjebak di dalamnya. Dan apabila kita merefleksikan hal tersebut, kita bisa, ini menjadi salah satu kekhawatiran, jadi salah satu dilema bagi kita bahwasannya akan ada kecenderungan di mana masyarakat bisa terjebak dalam hoax atau misinformasi atau salah menanggapi satu informasi. Lantas, bagaimana overview dari media kita, media online kita secara khusus di Indonesia dalam meng-coverage politik news tadi ini. Jadi kalau kita mengacu kepada Reuters Institute Digital News Report pada tahun 2022, di situ ternyata ada 16 media yang paling banyak digunakan oleh masyarakat Indonesia. Dan ternyata 5 diantaranya itu terafiliasi dengan politisi atau orang-orang pemilik media dengan latar belakang politik. Seperti itu. Dan hal ini menjadi salah satu permasalahan ya, selain hoax tadi, di mana akan ada potensi-potensi para politisi atau para pemilik media berlatar belakangkan politisi itu bisa menyebarkan yang namanya ideologi mereka. Mereka bisa menyebarkan interest mereka terkait politik atau something like that, dan itu bisa berpotensi kepada masyarakat yang tidak well educated terhadap politik. Sebagai pengantar singkat tadi, saya akan coba menjabarkan sedikit terkait research method yang kita gunakan. Jadi spesifik dari penjabaran sebelumnya, dalam artikel ini, dalam riset ini kita akan menganalisis 3 media online. Jadi salah satu itu merepresentasikan dari salah satu calon presiden, dan kita spesifik hanya mencari atau hanya menganalisis pemberitaan terkait calon presiden, satu calon presiden saja, dan itu hanya pada rentang September 2023. Data collection kita menggunakan secara kuantitatif dengan pendekatan dengan menggunakan metode analisis isi kuantitatif, dan kita menemukan ada 998 news artikel yang tersebar dari 3 media ini. Pertama metrotvnews.com, tv1news.com, dan occasion.com. Lalu kemudian secara singkat kita kemudian melakukan coding. Jadi saya berperan sebagai coders bersama bersama co-author saya Yovita Sabarina Setepu, dan kita melakukan analisis intercorrelation dan kita menemukan bahwasannya dari hasil temuan kita itu dapat dikategorikan sebagai reliable, dan mungkin tidak saya cantumkan di proceeding ataupun di PowerPoint. Lalu apa yang hendak kita analisis dari pemberitaan tersebut? Jadi kita akan menganalisis pertama adalah bunyian dari masing-masing capres pada berita tersebut. Lalu kemudian yang kedua adalah tone yang ditampilkan baik dari headline ataupun dari konten berita yang disampaikan atau yang dipublikasikan dari media tersebut. Lalu kemudian kita mau melihat bagaimana apakah ada peran atau mungkin ada publikasi yang mencantumkan para pemilik media dalam pemberitaan tersebut. Dan berikut hasilnya. Oke, jadi dari hasil yang kita peroleh dari 998 artikel yang kita analisis secara manual, kita menemukan bahwasanya di metrotvnews.com ada 205 artikel, lalu kemudian di tv1news.com ada 319 artikel, dan kemudian di occasion.com ada 474 artikel. Dan kalau kita melihat kepada metrotvnews.com, kita bisa lihat bahwasanya persentase publikasi Anies itu ada di angka 60-an%. Lalu kemudian di tv1news.com, hal yang menarik adalah TV1 itu milik Bakri, dan Bakri itu berlatar belakangkan Golkar sebagai Ketua Dewan Pembina Golkar. Namun dari temuan kita ternyata Anies Baswedan itu memiliki persentase paling banyak dipublikasikan, yakni 40,6%, dan Prabowo itu menjadi paling sedikit bahkan dibandingkan dengan Ganjar Pranowo. Dan mungkin akan saya jelaskan mengapa hal itu terjadi demikian. Lalu kemudian di occasion.com kita bisa lihat bahwasanya 90% pemberitaan terkait Ganjar itu sangat besar, bahkan mengalahkan Anies Baswedan dan juga Prabowo Subianto. Dan pada tabel sebelah ini kita bisa lihat bahwasannya itu ada beberapa artikel yang dipublikasikan secara netral. Ya, netral itu dimaksud adalah ada dalam satu artikel itu ada 2-3 calon presiden dalam satu pemberitaan. Oke, kemudian saya akan lanjut kepada hasil dari news coverage tadi. Yang saya sampaikan bahwasanya ada tone yang kita coba analisis, dan ternyata dari tone tadi, metrotvnews.com itu mempublikasikan Anies Baswedan, dan kita bisa lihat bahwasanya tone positif dari Anies Baswedan, baik pada konteks headline maupun pada konteks konten, itu ternyata lebih banyak positifnya dan mencapai angka 85,6% di konteks headline, dan juga pada konteks konten itu ada 90%. Dan kita bisa lihat apabila kita menilik ke belakang pada pada saat ketika Anies Baswedan itu menjabat sebagai gubernur DKI Jakarta, saya mengutip salah satu berita dari medcom.id pada bulan Februari 2021, di situ dikatakan bahwasannya Anies dinilai gubernur paling buruk. Nah, apabila kita menilik kepada bulan September 2023, kita bisa lihat bahwasannya ada kejomplangan seperti itu, ada independensi yang pada akhirnya dipengaruhi dari pandangan politik tadi. Bagaimana akhirnya pemilik media yang tadinya mungkin menjelekkan, tapi pada akhirnya memberikan tone positif karena ada interest terhadap salah satu pasangan calon. Dan ini kita bisa lihat pada temuan ini. Lanjut. Pada konteks tvnews.com kita bisa lihat bahwasanya Anies Baswedan mendapatkan tone yang pemberitaan yang paling banyak, begitu juga dengan Ganjar. Namun ternyata pada konteks tone, pada headline maupun pada konteks konten, ternyata ditemukan bahwasanya Prabowo Subianto dari keseluruhan artikel yang diperoleh itu ternyata mendapatkan tone yang paling tinggi. Dan ini kita tidak bisa pungkiri bahwasanya ada keterkaitan dengan kekerabatan hubungan antara Abu Rizal Bakri sebagai salah satu pemilik media dari TV One News terhadap Prabowo Subianto, dan beberapa kedekatan yang potret kedekatannya bisa kita ambil salah satunya pada saat kegiatan dari Golkar Institute pada tanggal 31 Agustus 2023. Di situ TV One sendiri itu memframing bahwasannya ada kedekatan antara Prabowo Subianto dengan Abu Rizal Bakri. Lalu pada konteks Anies, kenapa Anies itu mendapatkan bunyian yang paling tinggi atau publikasi yang paling tinggi di antara yang lainnya? Ternyata kalau kita mengacu kepada pemilihan umum pada tahun 2019 dan juga 2014, TV One itu digunakan sebagai salah satu medium bagi para masyarakat yang berada dalam posisi oposisi, dan itu pada akhirnya masih merembet sampai sekarang. Dan itu juga bisa dibuktikan dari salah satu polling dari Twitter Indonesia Lawyers Club pada tanggal 21 sampai 22 April 2023. Dan di situ dikatakan bahwasanya Anies Baswedan menjadi salah satu presiden yang paling banyak dipilih audiens dari ILC, lebih kurang 65%. Dan ini menjadi bukti bahwasannya ada pengaruh ekonomi politik media di dalam publikasi, tapi ada juga interest dari atau agenda yang hendak disampaikan oleh pemilik media melalui informasi atau berita yang mereka publikasikan. Selanjutnya adalah okezone.com, kita bisa lihat bahwasanya tadi 90% artikel pemberitaan yang disampaikan atau yang dipublikasikan melalui okezone.com, ternyata di Ganjar Pranowo itu hampir 90% itu berada pada tone positif dan tidak ada tone negatif sama sekali. Dan apabila Bapak Ibu membaca artikel yang dipublikasikan pada bulan September tahun 2023, itu Bapak Ibu bisa melihat hampir sama dengan temuannya Mbak Ika Idris, kemudian temuannya juga Mbak Andi Ilmi, bahwasannya ya kecenderungannya adalah bagaimana publikasi terkait figur dari Ganjar Pranowo ini supaya terlihat lebih bagus seperti itu. Akan ada clickbait yang ditemukan, akan ada banyak narasi-narasi yang mungkin terkesan positif tapi lebih ke celebritical, seperti mengacu kepada Ganjar itu ganteng, lalu kemudian Ganjar paling berprestasi, pendidikan Ganjar selama S1 sampai S2, dan hal-hal yang mungkin tidak ada esensi atau tidak ada mengandung unsur edukasi di dalamnya, namun itu sangat banyak dipublikasikan kepada masyarakat atau audiens dari okezone.com. Dan itu menjadi salah satu permasalahan bagaimana harusnya media itu menjadi sarana untuk mengedukasi, tapi kita tidak mendapatkannya. Selanjutnya, kita bisa lihat bahwasanya di sini ada beberapa artikel, ada sejumlah artikel dari keseluruhan itu, ternyata okezone.com itu menempatkan atau mempublikasikan tokoh-tokoh di balik politik, di balik media yang berafiliasi dengan politik, dan lebih kurang ada 86 artikel di okezone.com, lalu kemudian diikuti dengan Metro TV News ada 10, lalu kemudian tvnews.com ada 1, dan Bapak Ibu bisa melihat beberapa judul-judul yang menyerempet kepada para pemilik media. Lalu kemudian diskusi yang hendak saya coba sampaikan adalah bagaimana apabila kita mengacu kepada riset atau kepada definisi hoax atau misinformasi menurut Janeto dan rekan-rekan pada tahun 2019 dikatakan bahwasannya salah satu tipe informasi atau berita yang berpotensi mengandung misinformasi adalah informasi yang hanya informasi yang bias atau hanya memandang satu sisi saja. Jadi tidak ada balancing di dalamnya, dan itu kita temukan di 3 artikel media yang kita analisis. Dan kemudian ada clickbait seperti yang tadi saya sampaikan, bahwasanya itu juga tergolong kepada hoax berdasarkan dari definisi yang disampaikan oleh Janet. Dan secara garis besar konglomerasi media pada akhirnya khususnya kepada media yang terafiliasi dengan para politisi, itu pada akhirnya hanya menciptakan kepentingannya sendiri, hanya menciptakan atau mempublikasikan informasi berdasarkan kepentingannya mereka sendiri tanpa mencerdaskan masyarakat. Pada akhirnya elemen jurnalisme terkhusus kepada mengedukasi masyarakat sebagai watchdog kepada pemerintah dan lain sebagainya itu tidak tersalurkan dengan baik, tidak terimplementasi dengan baik berdasarkan media-media tadi. Dan hanya ada kepentingan politik di dalamnya. Dan pada akhirnya apabila ini secara kita pertahankan secara garis besar, secara jangka panjang, itu akan seperti memenjarakan independensi dari si para jurnalis tadi. Pada akhirnya ya jurnalis akan menganggap bahwasanya ini adalah bagian dari pekerjaan dan tidak bisa dielakkan. Dan itu akan menjadi salah satu permasalahan besar ketika kita ingin mencerdaskan masyarakat, ingin memberikan edukasi kepada masyarakat, tapi kita tidak bisa memberi ruang tersebut karena ada pemenjaraan independensi. Dan berdasarkan hasil kesimpulan dari temuan yang kami dapatkan, ada rekomendasi bahwasanya bagaimana para stakeholder terkhusus kepada Dewan Pers atau mungkin organisasi-organisasi profesional di bidang jurnalistik itu bisa menyuarakan hal tersebut. Bagaimana mereka bisa berjuang melakukan kolaborasi mungkin untuk bisa membuat satu kebijakan atau policy terkait terkait bagaimana publikasi media, bagaimana masyarakat harusnya mendapatkan informasi, bagaimana hak masyarakat dalam menerima informasi itu bisa disalurkan dengan baik, bisa diterima dengan baik, dan itu menjadi salah satu harapan kami sebagai peneliti agar ini bisa dapat tersalurkan dengan baik. Dan, mungkin itu saja. Terima kasih banyak dan mohon maaf apabila ada kesalahan. Selamat pagi.
Terima kasih Pak Mickhael. Jadi kalau saya simpulkan ya dari empat pembicara ini, bahwa ada beberapa keywords ya hari ini. Sebelum kita buka ke QA mungkin satu pertanyaan aja karena waktunya udah hampir habis ya. Tapi sorry, I suddenly switched to Indonesian as well. I'm sorry. So yeah, I was just saying that based on the 4 talks that we have heard, there are certain keywords that maybe we want to keep in mind before we open for a QA. And maybe we have only time for one question because we already ran out of time. But the keywords I've been hearing from the talks are like disinformation, okay, ideology, political strategy, right? These are the goods, the things that people are selling us, right? And then they exploit some weaknesses that we have in terms of emotion, also identity, because we tend to identify, right, with certain candidates or certain political parties, and therefore we are willing to allow for certain half-truth, certain misinformation to be shared, right? And in fact, we even support sometimes by sharing, right? Because we identify with them, because they appeal to our emotion. So that's our weakness. And then the tools are the algorithms in social media, as well as the media themselves. There are tools like the last talk. There are tools to push certain ideology or agenda, right? Because we cannot totally separate them from the money. Finally, at the end, the marketing, the money, right, the goal. So how do we, I guess, try and make ourselves be a better customer? That I think should be the question, right? Like, how can we separate ourselves from the content? Like, be a stranger to ourselves, being able to take ourselves out of our identity box and look at things more critically, and be able to see whether something is a disinformation or not. But however, in everything we do, we are always transactional, like what you can give me, right, in return of what I can give you. But in terms of politics, it seems no. We sometimes give our undying devotion. Votes. Votes is our currency. I think we should start thinking more critically, especially in terms of this election. You know? So that's my thought out of the conclusion I have. And now we have time for one question. Okay, we have two people. Okay, or three. Maybe the one at the back is really trying to. I think he's very enthusiastic. Maybe we can have one more after.
Okay. Hello everyone, my name is Nahar. I'm from Public Policy and Management, Universitas Gadjah Mada. First of all, I do agree that this kind of profit-driven journalism is not only disrupting our social media, but at the end of the day, I think this is what the reality, what kind of social media really works. That is, social media is not exactly what we think. Like everyone have the same opportunities and so on and so on. And it is really depends on what kind of good literacy that we have, formal education, and I guess social economics class. If maybe 20 years ago, Noam Chomsky wrote the book Manufacturing Consent that criticized the mass media, I think this is in today's context, I argue that this is how manufacturing consent really works. However, this market-driven journalism can be separated by the economic system. And I think we could not just blame the actors that how the media incubators is really evil and so on. But nonetheless, I think that this is how ideology really works nowadays. So the question is, what's next? Because I think that this neoliberalism economy doesn't seem to really work, and public policy can handle this truth. I think that's my question.
Okay, so what's next, I guess, given the mess that we are in right now? The question. I guess it's to all the panelists.
I'll just answer it short, hopefully. So I've been advocating these issues to the press council, Indonesia Press Council, when I saw a lot of Russia propaganda published by content creators and media without verifying the information. But you know, they said that time, that's how the media business works. And I was quite, not shocked, but I was disappointed, yeah. But I think right now, it's important for the digital platform to look at their policies, because if we look at the case, it's the whole, it's ecosystem. So it's, all the actors play their parts. And then, of course, we cannot just blame one actors, but I want to emphasize the exploitation also leads into disinformation. When they exploit the digital labors, it also leads to disinformation. And then, yeah, let's the media play the role according to this panel, but of course, press councils, policymakers, and platforms should also play their role. Thank you.
I suppose I think I could just repeat my conclusion, which is I think there is sort of like, it is a complex issue, right? And we are already too deep into this. You cannot undo what has happened. However, I think first, I've been thinking about from the platform aspect, I think there must be ways to differentiate between regular exchange of information, right? That probably is subjected to, let's say, current algorithm. But political ads shouldn't be treated the same like an ad for pancake or coffee, right? I mean, they're different. So brand, I think it's only fair to say that, yes, platform could be the place for marketplace and get money from advertising revenue. It is unfair to stop that. I think that's fine. However, there needs to be kind of like regulation what to do with political ads that should be subjected to different scrutiny that is much higher because the stake is much higher. Second is like beyond the platform itself, I think journalism, for example, have to ask itself, right? What is journalism? Do we still practice journalism ethics? And also, well, there is no more money, right, in journalism. All over the world, press has problem with making profit. And that in itself, I think, needed some kind of innovation. Not by being trapped in a kind of like clickbait type of practices. Instead, harness a kind of data-driven, right? AI-driven, that is wrong. Not by, too uncritically and to not just to maximize profit, but also there is a way to harness technology to increase the quality of journalism, or at least revive what journalism means in 2024 onward. And I have more things, but I don't want to take more time. I think I would just give my fellow panelists.
Yes. Okay. That's really tough question to be answered because the question is what's next, right? I think what is next, and it's not what's next, but it's what has been happening in Indonesia is, the demise of democracy. It is something that has been explained by political scientists a lot of times. When, the other day I attended CSIS, not conference, it's CSIS seminar, when I heard this thought from Marcus Metzner, a political scientist from Australia, when he said that our standard for democracy has become very low when, when all of things happen. For example, like UU ITE, the law of ITE, was granted by the government. I think what's already happening is there is this systematical demise of democracy. And what we need to do, I think, is, raising the awareness of how does democracy benefits us. I mean, I think we have forgotten what democracy brings to us, at least for these past 2 decades. And that is something that we need to remember about. I mean, this whole media freedom, this whole freedom of expression and that sort of things has been possible to do because we have democracy. And the fact that we have already seen these symptoms of, the demise of democracy, I think that is something that we need to discuss about. I mean, how does the government will finally address this disinformation issue in a more democratic way? I mean, because UU ITE has granted, a more criminalization and that sort of things, and that will be my answer.
Okay, thank you. I guess we only have 1 minute left. Can you talk in 1 minute?
Okay, just our time. maybe in the context of policy, we cannot, in the context of the media policy, we cannot interrupt them because they have their own their own policy and they have their own interest about what the article that they want to publish. But in the context of the society, we can try to learn, we can try to educate the people for the simple things, our family, to use the social media, to use or maybe to clarify maybe about the information that they got from WhatsApp or something like that. And it is the simple things, how can the disinformations or the misinformations can onslaught by us. So that's from me, thank you.
Thank you so much. So that's, I guess, wrap up the panel. If you have more questions, please ask the panelists directly. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Miss Derry, and all of the amazing speakers for the very insightful session. I would like to kindly request all of the speakers and moderator to stand in the center. And we're gonna take a quick group picture. One, two. Cheers. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Please kindly take your seat again, and we will continue the next agenda.